Hey guys, great news. I do not have genital herpes. And now let me tell you why I have to bother making a video about this in the first place. So about 8 months ago, back in March, I was back in New York for a little vacation. I figured while I was there, I would take a comprehensive STD screening because doing it in Japan, doing any kind of medical procedure in Japan can be a pain in the ass because even if you speak Japanese reasonably well, there's always lots of medical terminology that you don't know, and there's always a chance of miscommunication with the doctors. So I decided I'll do this while I'm in New York. Even if I don't have insurance, I'll just pay out of pocket, no big deal. So, and this is the first time I've ever done a comprehensive screening. I've always done HIV testing through routine blood work and probably a few other things too, but never really the whole set. So I get my results back by email the next week. Okay, no problem with HIV, hepatitis, no problem, chlamydia, no problem, etc. HSV1, which is oral herpes, no problem. Get to HSV2, genital herpes, and I see that the result says high. So I'm like, wait a second, what? I look through the results. It says that based on the range of my antibodies, if you're below zero point 0.9 in the concentration of antibodies, then you're considered negative. Between 0.9 and 1.1, you're considered indeterminate. And anything above 1.1 is considered positive. My number, 1.13. So I'm thinking, shit, I'm definitely in the positive range here. Why would this test be wrong? I did not think that having genital herpes was something that you would have to be surprised about. If you had it, wouldn't you see it or feel it? But the test is the test. I looked into it. I'm pretty good about condom use, but you don't necessarily have to have intercourse for genital herpes to be transmitted. It can be transmitted skin to skin. So that that could be a problem, I guess. And then there's also the issue of being asymptomatic. Apparently, most of the people who carry the HSV2 virus, the genital herpes virus, are asymptomatic. So even though I'd never seen anything or felt anything, that doesn't mean much. Maybe I do have it after all. So I had to assume for the time being that I did have it. And just to be safe, of course, I brought this to a doctor. At this point, I was back in Japan, showed the test result to a doctor, and she said exactly what I was thinking. Why would the test be wrong? There's no reason for that. And just use a condom, you'll be fine. And based on that statement, I knew, okay, maybe she doesn't know all that much about genital herpes in the first place, because that's what I thought, and apparently that wasn't the case. So I did a little bit of more digging, and this time I actually did meet a girl who had genital herpes. She was kind of into me, and I thought, maybe I could go for it, because if I have genital herpes too, what's the big deal? You can't get it twice. Once you have it, you have it. But I still wasn't convinced that I had it. I did a little bit more research, and apparently, blood tests for HSV2 are often giving false positives, especially in the low positive range. So I told you, my number was 1.13. Anything over a 1.09 is considered positive. But from a little bit of research, I found out that actually a typical result for a positive on this test is around a 3.5. So, maybe my number is a little bit low, even though it's in the positive range here. So I did some more research. Apparently, false positives are fairly common in this low range, especially, I think, between 1.1 and 3.5. About half of these are false positives. Numbers that are just above 1.1 are about 90% false, according to one test. And we don't really know if this has been, peer-reviewed, medically conclusive, etc. But that seems to be the case. It's worth checking out. It's worth taking a more accurate test for this. So there is one really accurate test for genital herpes by blood. Of course, the most accurate way to test for this, if you actually have physical symptoms of genital herpes, is to test it directly with a cotton swab test. But I didn't have anything like that. I had to do this by blood. So I had to do what's called a Western Blot test. And this test is only offered in the United States by the University of Washington. So what you have to do is you have to get your doctor to prescribe this test for you. You have to mail them a sample and then wait for the result there. Now, I was in Japan for the past 7 months, so I didn't have the chance to do it, but I found an excuse to go back to New York just for a week to take this test. And of course, my family's in New York. I told them, hey, guy, I love you guys so much. I'm just coming back to see everyone once again. But really, I was just there for the test. Anyway, so I went into New York City for this test, got my blood drawn. They had to do some sort of centrifuge to separate the serum from the blood. Mail that serum to the University of Washington, waited a week for the test, and it came back negative both for HSV1 and HSV2, oral herpes and genital herpes. So, clean in that regard, and that is by far the most accurate test on the market. It's considered the gold standard for the test, which means that not only do I not have genital herpes, I am pretty much the least likely person in the world to have it, because people who have not undergone this test may just very well be asymptomatic. Oh, that's the good news there. So yeah, I know a lot of, there's not a lot of information on this test around. Just, if you do have a low positive on this test, definitely do go for this Western Blot test. I could have, in theory, done it from Japan, but shipping blood samples and stuff from a foreign country can be a little bit tricky. And, I didn't really trust the doctors there so much, so I just got it done while I was in the US. Anyway, that's it for now. If you have any questions about this, by all means, send it to me. I had to deal with this shit for like 7 months, thinking, do I have this or do I not have this? Is every little time I scratch my crotch, does that mean that I have it? Like, it's a huge paranoia that comes up once you get these questionable positive results. So, yeah, if you have any questions, yeah, send it to me. Of course, I'm not a doctor or anything, but in this particular test, I do happen to know a little bit more than some of the doctors out there. Unfortunately, a lot of doctors do not know as much as they think they do. That's the main takeaway from this. Anyway, so false positive. See you next.